Welcome back to Just Rap Radio on BJPen.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton. Episode 135 is live ahead of the UFC 292 and recapping Bare Knuckle on the weekend. We're first going to be joined by the new Bare Knuckle flyweight champ, John Dodson, to preview his first round knockout win over J.R. Ridge to win the belt. He's had a lot of success in Bare Knuckle, perfect 3-0. He says he's kind of fell in love with that sport. He thinks it's and he's really kind of showing how good he can be in that one. But really good chat with John about kind of winning the title, what's next, and kind of his whole kind of career goals. And then we close things out, just two guests this week, talking to Andre Petroski to preview his 292 fight against Gerald Mearshart. We were supposed to be a lot of fight cancellations, and I did talk to a lot of those guys. I did talk to Rob Font about a couple days before he got moved to fight Corey Sandhagen. I talked to Mario Bautista before his fight against Cody Garbrandt was canceled. I had Jeff Neal and Saif Saud scheduled to talk about that fight against Zay and Gary. Obviously, those fights canceled, so only the two, but really good chat with Andre to preview that fight against Gerald Mearshart. It's pretty funny. He's fighting a guy in Gerald who is teammate and Joe Pfeiffer just beat in grappling and in MMA, but he kind of knows Gerald's a tough veteran. He thinks this is a really good test for him to prove that he's a top 15 middleweight. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by the new BKFC flyweight champ, John Dodson. John, how's it going, man?
I can't wait to go ahead and knuckle up with somebody soon, but we know how it goes for me. I'm going to go ahead and bounce back to MMA as quickly as possible.
Obviously, fighting for the belt, like we talked before, against JR, like obviously wasn't supposed to be the opponent, but like going into this fight, like how much confidence kind of did you have, especially with how kind of quickly your bare knuckle fights have gone for you?
I had super confidence going into this whole fight. I knew I was going to go out there and just slay everybody that stands in my way. Like, bare knuckles are a different animal for people who don't understand it, and everyone keeps on thinking about, oh, I got to be the better boxer, or I got to be the more dominant striker, or I have to be very physically strong. No, every shot counts, and every punch that lands is a more critical shot than anybody actually ever really understands. Those little baby pepper shots that people see here and there, and they're like, oh, man, I don't understand why the person went down. It's a knuckle crashing into your face. It's bare bone actually hitting you. It's not like a soft little pillow that gets to touch you once in a while. It's knuckle to knuckle or knuckle to bone right away.
And then obviously before your fight, your brother fought, had that kind of war, obviously didn't go his way. Like, does that like mess with you mentally at all? Like seeing him lose, or like, does that kind of psych you out anything?
Oh, it doesn't affect me being a coach to being a fighter. Because when I'm coaching, I know I have my brotherly love. Of course, Roberto almost did his thing. At the end of the day, I have my brotherly love, and I want to go get that one back from him. But going into my own fight for that title, it didn't affect me not one bit. It just knew that I had to go out there, go to war, and prepare myself to be in a battle just because that's what I always do. I'm always trying to put my life on the line and sacrifice my hands every time I step into any combat event, whether it be mixed martial arts, boxing, bare knuckle boxing, shoot, even grappling. Sometimes there's accidents that could happen.
And then with JR, like, did he do anything different that you expected, or did he kind of come out the way you thought he would?
He came out the way that I thought he would. He's going to come out using superior boxing, better footwork, and I just showed him that I had better speed, power, punch power, and accuracy.
Do you think he probably did catch you by surprise by how powerful and fast? Like, everyone kind of knows how fast you are, especially from your UFC career, but like, I think people always sleep on your power. Like, do you think you kind of underestimated how strong and powerful you actually are?
You know what? Everyone can always doubt me until they've actually stepped in front of me. Like, everybody has always stepped in front of me. They said they had a different tune off the screen and then being in the octagon or standing toe to toe with me.
And then getting that knockout like early in the first round, like, did you expect that to be over when it happened, like, and like that quickly for the fight to go again?
Honest with you, I thought I won in that first, like, I think was 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I thought I had won the fight. And they were like, no, you pushed him, you shoved him down. I was like, man, like, did I really push him? And in my head, I was like, man, I hit him. I knew I put my hand on him because I didn't want to fall myself. Because I knew I dropped him. I was like, all right, cool. And I was trying to get myself off of him. And I was like, you know what? If this is how I lose this title because I pushed the guy down, I'm going to have to rewatch it and everything else. I'm glad that J.R. Ridge actually got up, wanted to continue, and making sure that he can go ahead and have a chance to win this title.
Have you gone back and watched it if it was like a shove? Because it was like a pretty like odd one. It looked like a punch to me. Like, have you gone back and watched it?
Watched it and I realized I did not push the man down. I hit him and I literally brushed him aside so that I was like, all right, cool. I graced him to go down like how you wanted to. So I clipped him and I just turned him around. I was like, all right, cool. Knocked down. Dude ran back to my corner. They're like, you pushed him. I was like, you know what? Ah! But hey, they're just trying to give him as much prop to make it a more of a interesting fight. And if we didn't have a drama for a title fight, then it wouldn't be.
Did that like make you angry or anything, or do like you just kind of have to get that out of your system like quickly and just be like, all right, whatever, you guys think I pushed them?
Yeah, it like, you know what? I actually believed I pushed him 100% while I was at that squared circle. I believed I shoved him. I thought I put all my weight on him and bullied him to the mat. I mean, to the canvas. And I was like, all right, you know what? I did that. I'm so sorry. I apologize. And I rewatching. I was like, man, I didn't do anything wrong. So I did exactly what every boxer does. They hit some literally gracefully put them down, and they're not shoving them. They're literally hitting them and they're just pushing them aside so that they can walk away.
And then with that, like, do you then not even really know if you have him hurt at all after that moment, or do you still kind of think you did have him hurt then?
I knew he was hurt. He was wobbled. I knew he wasn't going to get up. Like, he shouldn't have even got a second chance to go ahead and step back in there with me. But since he did, I had to make sure it was going to be very decisive, be connecting in the exact same places that I was hitting him already. When I put him away, make sure I looked like I was getting arrested.
And then it's kind of crazy. Like every single time we've talked after your bare knuckle fights, it doesn't even look like you've been in a bare knuckle fight. Like don't even know if you really know, but like, do you know how many times you've been hit yet? Like, I don't think there's been too many for you.
I've been hit successfully 10 different times.
And it's kind of crazy because everyone talks about like all the damage from bare knuckle, and here we are talking the Monday after your fight, and it doesn't even look like you got in a fight a couple days ago.
But I got hit 6 different times in this one fight.
Yeah. And then obviously you get the knockout, you get the win. Like, what are those kind of emotions like? Like, obviously becoming a bare knuckle champ and like getting another first round win. Like, what were the emotions like for you after the fight?
It's very surreal for me because of the fact that it's been such a rough time being let go from the UFC. I thought I was up there, and then getting back and having the success that I have been within bare knuckle and Ryzen. And since bare knuckle was such like a kind and warm place for me to go ahead and jump into, they've been like making me and reminding me how much of a valued athlete I am and how much I have still left to offer to the whole combat sports scenario. Like, everybody wants the pinnacle of being part of the UFC and stuff like that, and they all sit there and yeah, let's go ahead and do this. When I was like, go, I thought I was like a shitty fighter. Like, you got my own, like, played into me because like everybody wants to be that big on that big stage and make their name for themselves. But I found success like outside of the UFC and everywhere else, and I've been continuously enjoying that because that's what we do. We do it for the fans and do it for ourselves, making sure we can prove not to them but to ourselves and how much we enjoy the sport, how much we love it. And with being in the UFC, I wasn't loving the fighting anymore. I was loving having a job and getting back to fighting for bare knuckle and in Ryzen. Man, I fell in love with hurting people again. I know that sounds kind of evil. Fall in love with hurting people and being able to stay on path of crushing people's skulls and knowing that I am the most dangerous person on the planet Earth. That's what I wanted to do when I came into fighting in general.
And then how much like does it add to it that you were able to do this and win the title at home in Albuquerque?
I'm glad that I am the first bare knuckle champion that New Mexico has ever seen. Not only seen, but have. So we've had Holly being like one of the actual champions, like homebred champions for New Mexico to be a world champion. Not the interim champion like a Carl Condon was, but she was the one that came in mixed arts, and I'm the one going in the other direction from MMA into bare knuckle one. So it feels great.
I asked you this before the fight, but just kind of see if an answer is different. Like, now that you have won the title, like, what do you think that does do for your legacy in this like sport and just in combat sports in general?
Tell you the truth, I don't know. Like, I just want to continue on being one of the most decorated combat strikers in the world. So this is just one of the stepping stones. I'm just very appreciated. It's just a long time coming. Like, it's just not like the end of the road, but this is a new journey and new beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on, put my best foot forward for it, and continue on with the success that happened. And I'm going to keep on riding this roller coaster until it comes down.
How much more enjoyable is this for you? Like the last couple of years doing bare knuckle, like it seems like whenever I talk to you, like it seems like you get a lot more excited, like that you can show off your strength. You don't have to worry about these guys just trying to grapple you all the time. Like, is it a lot more exciting for you, like going into these fights and just training kind of every day for this?
Absolutely, but I'm not just training for like bare knuckle all the time.
Mm.
Like training MMA, 365 days out of the year. So every day is for me training MMA, but I just go ahead and showcase my true abilities when it comes to the bare knuckle. This is like the area where I can go ahead and manipulate people's body with my Muay Thai experience, my boxing, and my dirty boxing. I can control those little general areas that people forget about. That makes people so successful when it comes to striking. Now, within boxing, I know I won't be able to do the exact same thing because I won't be able to clinch with somebody and they won't punch them in the face. But I'd have to use some real technique for that.
Is it kind of like crazy? Because like I kind of think you're better at bare knuckle than like you are at MMA. That's kind of like crazy to say, for especially like you fought for a UFC title, like you were a top three, top five guy for like years. Like, do you kind of think that might be the case, where you might be better at bare knuckle than you are at MMA?
No, not really, because the fact that I'm still one of the best in the world in MMA. Because like even though I might have kind of fell off the rankings at 125, I'm climbing the rankings back again and
Hmm.
making sure to go ahead and solidify myself as being one of the baddest like flyweights in the world. And Johnson's still up on the top, and I believe I'm still number. Well, in my eyes, I'm still number two. In the world rankings, they have me something else.
Hmm. Just a couple more things before when we talked before, you're saying how this is supposed to be Reggie Barnett and you want Reggie Barnett next anyways, if it has to be at 35. Like, do you think after that performance though, like that fight might never happen then?
I don't think that fight's ever gonna happen. This is the second time that dude failed, and I'm not gonna go ahead and chase somebody. Like I'm a grown man. I'm not gonna sit there and have like other people try to tell me what I'm gonna need to be doing. Like, if you got to back out twice, first time shame on you, second time shame on me, third time it's not even worth my time. So I'm not even gonna worry about going up there. I'm just gonna go clear out a whole division of being the 125 champion and beat up all the newcomers that they possibly can bring me. So it doesn't matter if it's gonna be a professional boxer, another Muay Thai practitioner, or if they can go ahead and bring me somebody that's worthy enough, maybe realm, or just somebody that's rising through the ranking.
Do you really care who that first title defense is against that? Or is it more just like just kind of stacking these title wins?
I'm gonna stack the title wins because I want to have as many belts as possible. Like bare knuckle is like boxing, so they give you a new belt every single time. So every single one of them.
And then I know, like, when would that kind of time period be? I know, like, if you can't get a bare knuckle fight in a while, like, you go to MMA. Like, are you hoping the next one is bare knuckle, or you kind of think that next fight will be MMA?
Be honest with you, I hope that's gonna be bare knuckle, but how things are turning out, it might be an MMA one. So I'm gonna play the cards the best way possible and see what's gonna come for. See what's coming next for me.
Are you hoping though you can get one more in this year for sure?
Both of them, yes, absolutely. I would have loved to go ahead and get a bare knuckle MMA bout right now, and then go ahead and get a bare knuckle one at the end of the year. And I want to keep on stacking up the wins as much as possible.
Just final thing, like, is that still like kind of a goal in for you? Is to be a bare knuckle and rising champ at the same time? Like, we've seen like double champs in like different divisions, but like we never really seen the two different combat sports champs at the same time.
I want to be able to do it. If that's the case, like I see in, but like I don't understand why like pretty much our sport one that doesn't allow you to go ahead and be a champion in multiple organizations,
Hmm.
like arts or even bare knuckle. Like I know one to let us do that, but boxing is just a general term of just boxing. Like they're like, yeah, you could be a WBO, WBC, WBA, BB, blah, blah, blah. I don't know all the other titles, but I just want to be able to control and unify as much as I can. And for me to go ahead and do that and just solidify myself as being the one more dangerous strikers is to be able to do that. To go rising title, bare knuckle title, they control one of the boxing titles as well.
Well, John, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Thank you for having me back on, man. With this beautiful face.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC middleweight Andre Petroski, who's back in action at UFC 292. Andre, how's it going, man?
Everything's going really well. Just training hard, excited. I want to fight.
Obviously you were supposed to fight back in May. You had to pull out. Like, how kind of disappointing, frustrating was that, having to pull out of that fight and not be able to fight then?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. I had never pulled out of a fight before. at least have a pro fight. It was tough, but I just like it was not a smart decision for me. My shoulder needed rehab, and I got the treatment necessary, and I've been doing a lot better. Yeah.
When were you kind of fully cleared from that injury to train and take a fight again?
So I was cleared after, I think it was like 8 weeks. I did 6 weeks of the rehab plus 2 weeks, the 2 weeks before, well, one after and then one before for the stem cell. So like 8 weeks. Yeah.
Was that about the time frame you figured it would be, or is that quicker? Like, what kind of was that?
Honestly, I had no clue really. I knew that like just like really resting it was going to be big because I just was continuing to irritate it over and over every time I trained, and it was getting so inflamed that like I wasn't able to do anything. Even like turning my steering wheel would just, yeah. So when I took some time off and then did the rehab and stuff, it got better.
And how hard was it too, having to pull out of a card like a pay-per-view, a pretty big one? Like, was that hard too, having to pull out of that one?
Yeah, for sure. A pay-per-view close to home.
Yeah.
Had a lot of friends and family that had already bought tickets, people going, like, yeah, it was tough. That was a hard one.
A bit of a relief then that your return fight is on a pay-per-view and in Boston, like still fairly close to home for you.
Yeah, I'm very, very grateful. I feel very lucky that I was able to, after pulling out of a fight, because of an injury, granted, but after pulling out of a fight, was able to get a guy that I had asked for before. So really feel just like really blessed to get a fight that I wanted, especially on the last fight on my contract before negotiations.
With Gerald, like, why did you want it? Because I remember when we've talked in the past, you've called him out like a couple of times. Like, what kind of drew you to wanting him? Like, is it just because he's like had so many fights, he's kind of a name guy?
The argument that I continue to make is that I'm the best grappler in this division, and I continue to prove that. And Gerald having the most submissions in the division's history cements that, makes my argument much stronger.
And then obviously Joe fought him in the last one. Like, how much are you talking about to Joe about kind of what he saw in there, and what, like, obviously it was a quick fight for him, but like, are you talking to Joe a lot about what he kind of saw in there when he fought Gerald?
Yeah, for sure.
How beneficial is that where your coaches and someone you train with has already prepared to fight him in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I've done my homework. I've scouted him immensely. My coaches have done the homework now for a second time, have scouted him immensely. So we know a lot of his habits, a lot of things he likes to do, a lot of things that he doesn't like done to him.
What have you made of his UFC run? Because like, he's a guy, if he doesn't get put out early, like, it seems like he could wear that damage and like pulls off these like crazy submissions late in fights and these comebacks. Like, what do you kind of made of his run?
Yeah, I mean, he's dangerous late in the fight. He has a lot of submissions late in the fight, which, you got to give hats off to him. He has that ability. Not everyone does. That's a dangerous fighter, but he also has the ability to fold early.
How much will that pressure be like a key in this one? Just getting at him early so he can't really get comfortable.
Huge. If you give a lot of guys have had a lot of success pressuring him. Yeah, especially other southpaws, and yeah.
Who are kind of the main guys you're working with? Like, same kind of crew as always in Philly?
Yeah, Miles Lee's another southpaw. Manny Morales. We got this Ukrainian kid named Igor. He's 4-0. He's a stud. He's a killer. He goes southpaw. I was working with Anders. Anders obviously had fought him previously and beat him. So yeah, I mean, we got some good guys. It's not every day you prepare for a southpaw, but we do have some good guys, some good partners. Kyle Dawkins. I was sparring with Kyle 2 weeks ago. He's another good southpaw. A lot of experience.
Is there a bit of like pressure from the gym of like the other guys are 2-0 against this guy? Like, why not make it 3-0? Or is that just like, are they kind of joking around and you kind of have to beat him now?
Not really, but I would say self pressure. Like, yeah, I am like, it is a great opportunity for me, and I do still think it's a good test. Like, even though Joey has already beaten him, he has, he is ranked above me. He does have a lot more wins than me and a lot more fights, a lot more experience. But yeah, I think stylistically it is a matchup that favors me.
We see some guys not really want to go down to the ground with Gerald. I know your grappling is extremely high level. Like, is that not a worry? Like, if it even hits the mat with him at all, then
I invite the grappling for sure. I feel confident on the feet. I mean, I want to beat him up on the feet too, but yeah, I want the grappling to take place on my terms for sure.
And then fighting in Boston, like pretty close to home. Like, what do you think that walkout will be like for you? Like, I imagine a lot of people, you're kind of like the hometown guy in this fight. Like, what do you think that walkout for you will be like?
I mean, I imagine pretty similar to MSG from my last fight, but yeah, I love Boston. I was at the last time I was in Boston was for TJ and Dominic Cruz.
Yep. And
then my teammate Paul Felder fought Darren Cruikshank. So yeah, that was the last time I was there. So I mean, that's a great arena. That's a good spot to be at.
Yeah, back-to-back like iconic arenas on the East Coast for you to fight in, like pretty nice little 2-run stretch for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's certainly done by design. We want to fight close to home for sure.
You did bring up Paul. I know, like, obviously he's a teammate. I know he's friends with Gerald, like, because he used to train there. Like, does that make it difficult, or is he just not in the gym that much to like really do anything? Because obviously he's close with both you guys.
I've seen Paul in the gym probably twice since we opened, which is like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
With this one, like you've said, it is the last fight on your deal. Is that something you wanted to do and not renegotiate before the deal, or is that just something you and the UFC agreed of, like, let's kind of see how this fight plays out?
I have a 6-fight contract. This is my 5th fight.
Okay, so you still have one more after this, but this is kind of the fight you'd renegotiate then after.
Fight before I renegotiate.
Yeah. Does that add a bit of pressure to the fight? Because like 5-0, another finish, like pretty hard for them to deny not giving you a bit more money.
Absolutely. 5-0 is a different story than 4-1.
How do you kind of see it playing out? Like, we kind of talked about, like, Gerald is a guy that can be put away early, is dangerous late. How do you kind of see it playing out?
Yeah, I think I touch him up on the feet early and then force him to shoot, which is my world.
What do you think a win over Gerald does for you? Like, he's been a guy that's fought top 15 guys. He's kind of fought everyone in the division.
Contract and guaranteed a guy in the top 15, if not a Bo Nickel fight or a big name.
I know that was actually someone I didn't want to talk about because you've called him out for a while. Like, what have you kind of made of his first 2 UFC fights?
I mean, I like what I see, especially the last fight. I mean, I don't think the guy he fought. I don't know. A lot of my friends asked me, like, because they saw Val was like plus 2,600. Like, should I bet on this guy? And I'm like, did you watch any of his fights? And of course they say no. And if you watch his fights or even just took the 5 seconds to look up his Tapology, like most of his fights were at heavyweight. At least like 2 or 3 of his fights are at heavyweight against guys that, like, have no business being in there. So, and he was still, I don't know. I'm impressed that he was able to get a knockout and not a submission, but I didn't think that he was going to be nearly the test that Tresean Gore would have been.
Do you think the UFC would give you him, though? Like, I kind of feel like they're kind of building up slowly, and I don't know if they'd really want to give you him right now.
That's fine if they want to build him up slowly, but eventually, you know what I mean? Like, if they want to give him another fight to build up, so be it. But can't fight low-level guys forever if he wants to be if he wants to have a successful career, he's going to have to fight better guys for sure. When that time comes, I'm obviously will be ready. I heard, they're going to New York in November. I heard maybe Atlantic City in December. So
you were obviously in the house with Tresean. Like, How do you think that fight would have played out? Because like I thought Trajan had a much better chance. What a lot of these people were thinking in that one.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It was interesting. I was definitely curious to see how he would have done. I'm assuming that Bo could have taken him down just because Trayshawn's not necessarily a wrestler, but his grappling is like not bad. Like I think he could have done enough to stay out of bad positions and weather the storm. I think that's a big part of fighting Bo Nickal. You got to weather the storm. He hasn't seen late rounds. He's good. He's a wrestler, so he's good for 4 or 5, 6 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's used to doing his whole life is wrestling for those short increments. So I think if you can get him to later rounds, that's when you'll kind of see what he's made of. And I don't know if I think Trayshawn could have done that. I wish we could have saw it.
Just final thing, like you get past Gerald in August, like I imagine you're hoping for one more. Like you got to mention Madison Square Garden in November. Like, is that kind of the ideal time frame? Is make that quick turnaround rank guy at MSG?
Yeah, absolutely. 1-0 at MSG, so I'd like to continue that. I had a great time. I would love MSG in November, or if they come to Jersey in December, I would like that for sure. But I guess most importantly would be like a top 15 guy.
Just one more quick thing, because I talked to Joe like a couple of months ago. I was surprised they aren't booking anything in Philly with like how many of you guys are coming up from that gym all in the UFC from Philly.
I think there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, they have to work with the commissions in each state. And Pennsylvania historically has not had the best reputation for good commissions. But they were working towards it, working something out with the UFC. And I think COVID, they brought back restrictions at one point, and that kind of put a halt to Pennsylvania. I don't know what it's been like since then, but I think that they were happy with doing the Jersey thing instead. Instead of going to Philadelphia, they went to Jersey too. And from what I hear, they're supposed to do 2 shows in Jersey this year. One was the Newark card, and then one would be Atlantic City.
Well, Andre, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, brother.